In a move no one expected, but that insiders now claim was years in the making, the palace has confirmed that Lady Beatrice's children will be granted formal royal titles, while Princess Eugenie's children are left without. The decision has cracked open old tensions and reignited a quiet feud between sisters once believed to be unshakable. So, why now? And why this divide? Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. The official announcement, cold in tone and clinical in language, arrived like a thunderclap across newsrooms and royal watchers' forums worldwide. It was a short, carefully worded paragraph, buried beneath other court notices, yet it detonated like dynamite. Lady Beatrice's daughter, Sienna Elizabeth Mapelli Mozzi, had been formally acknowledged as Lady Sienna, a title confirming her entrance into the royal lineage. Absent from the same document, any mention of Eugenie's sons, August and Ernest. Not a line, not a title, nothing. Just silence. And in that silence, the echoes of something far older began to scream. Public reaction was instant. Confusion gave way to outrage. Social media ignited with speculation, and journalists scrambled for clues. Was this part of the long-standing policy to slim down the monarchy? Or had the palace deliberately elevated one branch of the York family above the other? It wasn't just about names, it was about identity, history, and inheritance. And for many, it reeked of favoritism dressed in protocol's clothing. But beneath the noise, a chilling consistency emerged. This decision had been in motion long before it reached the public. Insiders now suggest the announcement had been ready for months, locked away in the corridors of royal administration while senior aides debated the fallout. The delay wasn't logistical, it was strategic. The timing, they say, was chosen to coincide with quieter news cycles and to avoid immediate political entanglements. But no amount of planning could disguise what this really was, a declaration of preference, of hierarchy, and of a chosen future. Whispers from deep within Windsor reveal that conversations around these titles began shortly after Queen Elizabeth's passing, and at the centre of those conversations, a growing divide between two sisters who once vowed never to let the crown come between them. For years, Beatrice and Eugenie presented themselves as a unified force, a delicate balance between royal tradition and modern independence. But something changed. Subtle differences in public behaviour, muted tensions at joint appearances. Side glances that once seemed trivial now appear to have held weight. According to sources close to the royal household, the title announcement was the final blow to a fracture that had been slowly widening. It didn't just create a split, it confirmed one. One sister's child would inherit history, the others would be left behind. But behind the cold formality of a palace statement lies something far more personal and far more painful. A decision rooted in rivalry, legacy, and private betrayal. Once dubbed the inseparable York girls, Beatrice and Eugenie presented a united front through royal scandals, family divorces, and relentless public scrutiny. But royal insiders now say the rift began long before this title dispute. What happened behind closed doors that pushed these sisters down such different paths? The fairy tale of the York sisters began like any other royal childhood, photos of them in matching dresses, laughing during charity events, standing side by side at public ceremonies, the embodiment of solidarity. Together, they withstood the media storm surrounding their parents' divorce. Together, they endured the shadow cast by their father's controversies. They were two halves of a defiant bond, modern, relatable, unbothered by the crown's strict lines. But over the years, that symmetry began to shift. It was subtle at first. Beatrice's increasing proximity to the palace, her quiet acceptance of traditional roles, while Eugenie grew more outspoken, more resistant to the mold carved out for her. She launched her own projects, made unconventional choices, and refused to play by the book. For a while, that contrast brought balance. But then, it became friction. Behind closed doors, what once made them stronger now drove them apart. Beatrice's alignment with the monarchy's more rigid expectations became glaring. She was attending more official events. She was being invited to sit in rooms where decisions were made, rooms Eugenie wasn't always welcome in. The more Beatrice leaned in, the more Eugenie pulled away. Friends recall how Eugenie would bristle at the media's portrayal of Beatrice as the dutiful daughter. It wasn't just about headlines, it was about identity, it was about legacy. And the deeper Beatrice stepped into the fold, the more Eugenie began to feel like a royal in name only. Then came the moment that shattered the illusion of peace, a quiet, sharp confrontation during a Christmas gathering at Sandringham. It didn't happen in front of cameras. It didn't leak to the press. But those present still speak of the coldness that followed. The sisters barely spoke for the remainder of the holiday. Beatrice left early. Eugenie remained, stone-faced. And afterward, something shifted permanently. From that point forward, their appearances together felt hollow, staged. The distance was no longer emotional, it was strategic. And yet, perhaps the most telling fracture came not from words exchanged, but from one that never left Eugenie's lips until now. In a conversation with a long-time confidant, Eugenie reportedly confessed, "I've always been the backup option." That line, devastating in its simplicity, carried a lifetime of buried pain, not just about her role in the family, but in her relationship with the one person she thought she could always trust. The truth was never about titles. It was about being seen, and in the eyes of the monarchy, Eugenie had never truly been given that chance. And just as private pain fractures their bond, a hidden royal document would come to light, one that reveals the true nature of the palace's agenda. Long locked away inside Andrew's private safe was a personal document never meant for public eyes, a handwritten account revealing his dreams, regrets, and the exact vision he had for his daughter's future roles in the monarchy. Now uncovered, the letter casts a chilling shadow on today's decision. The document wasn't supposed to surface not like this. It was only after a trusted aide, quietly disillusioned by the palace's latest maneuver, chose to leak the pages that the contents found their way into the hands of a select few. Dated over a decade ago, the letter begins in Prince Andrew's signature scrawl, uneven, rushed, emotionally charged. What begins as a father's reflection soon spirals into something far more calculated, a blueprint for his daughter's royal futures. And at the center of it, a quiet division, one that eerily mirrors the divide confirmed by the palace today. In his words, Beatrice was to be the bridge to tradition, a figure of continuity, carefully molded to fit into the existing royal architecture. Eugenie, on the other hand, was cast as the ambassador for a modern monarchy, a role noble in theory, but peripheral in execution, a symbolic figure rather than a central one. The writing was elegant, but the implications were brutal. Insiders now confirm what many feared: this was no accidental leak. The document's timing was deliberate. Those closest to Andrew knew that if the truth remained buried, the narrative would spin only one way. What's more unsettling is the suggestion that Andrew had long been lobbying, subtly and persistently, for Beatrice's elevation. Not through public declarations, but through backdoor meetings, quiet assurances, and strategic silences. His attempts may not have been overt, but they were effective. Over time, the language surrounding Beatrice shifted. She was praised for her discretion, her loyalty, her deep understanding of duty. Eugenie, by contrast, was increasingly described as independent, unconventional, unpredictable. When the document was first brought to the attention of senior palace aides, panic rippled behind the scenes. It was deemed dangerous, too revealing, too political. There were immediate orders to contain it, bury it, discredit it if necessary. But by then, it had already reached those who understood its weight. Among them was Eugenie. And for her, it wasn't just words on paper. It was confirmation of a choice made long ago, one that split not only the sisters, but the trust between father and daughter. Those close to her say she didn't speak for hours after reading it. Only one sentence escaped her lips, a whisper that cut deeper than any scandal. But the final nail wasn't hammered by Andrew's wishes alone behind the scenes. Two powerful royals pushed this decision through with silent resolve. While the public debates protocol, those within the palace know the truth. This was a carefully calculated decision signed off by King Charles III and Queen Camilla. But what was their motive? And why is Camilla being singled out as the architect of this quiet exclusion? The answers lie not in tradition, but in strategy. Since ascending the throne, King Charles III has grown increasingly fixated on reform. With scandal tightening its grip on the royal image from Andrew's disgrace to the Sussex rupture, Charles believes that the monarchy's survival depends on a leaner, more controlled bloodline. The message is subtle but clear. The fewer the moving parts, the fewer the risks. And under this new order, titles are no longer handed out as tokens of heritage. They are given to those who reinforce the crown's current vision. Those who question it, who act outside its bounds, are left behind. It was a vision born from necessity, but it gained precision under Camilla. Those who've watched the Queen Consort's rise from outsider to orchestrator have seen a woman who doesn't speak loudly, but speaks last. And in this case, her influence was not merely advisory, it was directive. Palace sources confirm that Camilla has become increasingly involved in the day-to-day decision-making process, quietly reshaping the monarchy's inner dynamics through selective alliances and strategic counsel. While Charles contemplates legacy, Camilla sharpens the edges. And nowhere was that more apparent than in the private conversations she held with Beatrice in the weeks leading up to the announcement. These weren't formal briefings or ceremonial dinners. These were intimate, off-schedule meetings, meals behind closed doors, long walks out of sight, moments no one expected but everyone now understands. In those private talks, Camilla didn't just listen. She laid groundwork. Whispers within court circles suggest Camilla saw Eugenie as a liability, a royal-adjacent figure who brought too many unknowns. Independent, unpredictable, and increasingly aligned with causes that didn't pass through palace vetting. There was even an alleged comment made by Camilla in a closed meeting. "She's too loose an element. We can't build a future on wild cards." In contrast, Beatrice had proven herself loyal, quiet, cooperative, willing. And that difference was more than cosmetic. It became policy. This wasn't a random decision about children's titles. It was a long, methodical restructuring that had been underway for months, one that coincided with Eugenie's noticeable absence from recent key events, missing from high-level receptions, quietly dropped from state meetings, edited out of planning memos, a pattern that no longer feels like coincidence. It feels like erasure. And in that calculus, Eugenie found herself on the wrong side of the line. But it wasn't just Camilla's whisper. It was another voice, long underestimated, that sealed the deal with one final recommendation. Known for her loyalty to duty and unshakable stoicism, Princess Anne rarely meddles in royal squabbles. But insiders confirm she stepped in during a private council, offering a decisive opinion that stunned even Charles. And in doing so, she chose between Beatrice and Eugenie. The weight of Princess Anne's words cannot be overstated. In a family defined by centuries of hierarchy and whispered influence, her voice carries something rarer than power respect. Anne, who has spent her life walking a line between relentless service and dignified silence, is not easily swayed by emotion or theatrics. So when she requested a private conversation with the king mere days before the titles were announced, it sent tremors through the inner circle. According to a source with knowledge of that meeting, Anne's message to Charles was clear, concise, and without sentiment. Legacy must be earned, not inherited. It wasn't an attack. It was a standard, one that, in her view, Eugenie had failed to meet. This wasn't just about appearances or protocol. Anne's reservations about Eugenie weren't rooted in personal dislike, they were grounded in the Princess Royal's relentless commitment to monarchy above all else. She reportedly expressed concern over Eugenie's increasing independence, her vocal support for causes outside of palace influence, her unwillingness to participate in key ceremonial roles. Anne, a product of discipline and sacrifice, viewed such choices not as individuality, but as retreat. In contrast, Beatrice had stepped up. She had accepted more responsibilities, stood beside senior royals at crucial engagements, and, most importantly, never wavered in her allegiance to the system. In Anne's eyes, loyalty was the litmus test, and only one sister had passed. But the blow wasn't delivered directly. Eugenie didn't hear Anne's words from Anne herself. She heard them from a staffer, someone who overheard, perhaps unintentionally, and relayed the opinion with a mixture of apology and warning. When it reached Eugenie, it broke her. Not because she was unaware of the growing coldness, but because Anne had always been someone she admired, someone she saw as proof that a woman could define her role within the crown without surrendering herself to it. The betrayal, indirect though it was, struck like thunder. And Eugenie, according to one family aide, left the palace that evening without saying goodbye. When asked about her absence, Anne said nothing. And since the announcement, she has remained silent still. That silence is telling, not defensive, not remorseful, simply final. It speaks of decisions made, of allegiances drawn in lines thicker than blood. Anne did not act out of malice. She acted out of conviction. But the outcome remains the same. Eugenie was left outside the circle, watching as the titles she once thought would belong to her children slipped into her sister's hands, and the cold hand of history moved forward, without hesitation, in the direction Anne chose. But while the elders in the family closed ranks, one young royal defied expectations and made a private vow to stand by Eugenie, no matter the fallout. Zara Tindall has always walked the line between royal and renegade, but in a rare moment of family defiance, she's now chosen to publicly side with Eugenie, risking her own standing to call out what she sees as injustice from within the crown itself. For years, Zara has existed just outside the traditional royal framework, respected, admired, but largely autonomous. Without a title, she was free to shape her own path, her own voice, and her own loyalty. But this freedom came with clarity, and when the palace made its decision to elevate Beatrice's children while denying titles to Eugenie's sons, Zara saw the move not as protocol but as punishment. Within 24 hours of the announcement, she arranged a quiet lunch with Eugenie, far from prying eyes. Sources say the atmosphere was charged not just with sympathy, but with fury. By the time the meal ended, Zara's loyalty had taken a sharp, unmistakable turn. A message soon surfaced, leaked, though no one has claimed responsibility. The quote was simple: "This was cruel and unnecessary." Attributed to Zara, it spread like wildfire through private networks and media backchannels. While many dismissed it as gossip, those closest to the family knew better. Zara had spoken, and she wasn't done. Days later, she requested a private audience with her mother, Princess Anne. What unfolded behind closed doors remains tightly guarded, but reports describe raised voices, a rare display of emotion, and a confrontation years in the making. Staff who overheard fragments called the exchange unprecedented. For Zara to challenge Anne directly, especially on a matter involving titles, legacy, and favoritism, meant something had snapped, and it had. Shortly after, Zara was seen leaving Windsor Castle on foot, shoulder to shoulder with Eugenie, ignoring a call from Beatrice that came in just as they passed through the gates. It was more than symbolic. It was deliberate. The sisters may have fractured, but Zara had chosen her side, and it wasn't the one her mother or the monarchy expected. The choice echoed even louder when Zara's husband, Mike Tindall, posted a cryptic message on social media later that evening. It read only, "Sometimes, you stand not because it's easy, but because it's right." No names, no photos. But the message was heard clearly by those it was meant for. Within the palace, Zara's actions have stirred a quiet storm. While not outwardly condemned, her stance has shifted dynamics behind the scenes. Invitations withdrawn, meetings missed, tensions rising. And through it all, her silence has remained firm. She hasn't issued a statement. She hasn't offered clarification. Her loyalty to Eugenie is now on record, etched not in policy, but in defiance. And for the first time in years, there's a whisper running through the corridors. If Zara is willing to rebel, who else might follow? As family lines fracture and allegiances shift, the pressure mounts on Beatrice, especially when an old conversation with the Queen comes back to haunt her. Shortly before Queen Elizabeth II passed, she held a quiet moment alone with Beatrice, one that has now taken on new weight. What did the Queen ask of her granddaughter? And did Beatrice just break that sacred promise? The final days of Queen Elizabeth's life were marked by silence, reflection, and carefully chosen words. Only a few were granted private moments with her during those final visits to Balmoral, and among them, Beatrice's presence stood out. Unlike the others who came and went with reverence, Beatrice stayed longer. She arrived with the gravity of someone carrying a question, and she left with something heavier, a burden. Palace aides, sworn to discretion, have since revealed whispers of a conversation that lingers in the shadow of recent events. During that intimate exchange, the Queen, frail but focused, is believed to have spoken not of duty or titles, but of unity. One line, reportedly written in her own hand and later sealed in a note for Beatrice, has since become the centre of royal speculation. Titles divide where love should lead. A sentence both prophetic and damning, especially now. For Beatrice, the weight of those words has only grown. In the weeks following the Queen's death, she was seen often in private meetings with senior royals, her posture firmer, her voice steadier. There was talk of new roles, of expanding duties, of finally stepping into the space she had long skirted. But with each step forward, something unspoken hung in the air, the memory of that conversation, and the line she once uttered to her sister in a moment of youthful loyalty, "We rise or fall together." At the time, it had been a vow. Today, it echoes more like a fracture. What changed? Was it ambition? Was it pressure? Or was it the slow erosion of conviction under the weight of expectation? Those close to Beatrice describe her as torn, caught between the love of her sister and the gravitational pull of a monarchy reshaping itself without sentiment. She hadn't asked for the spotlight, but when it came, she didn't step away. And in doing so, she became part of something she once promised to resist. The decision to accept titles for her children may have felt, on the surface, like an honor. But beneath it, there was conflict. And guilt. Because Beatrice knows the cost. She's watched the divide deepen. She's seen Eugenie walk alone. And though she has yet to speak publicly, her silence now feels like a confession. Those closest to the crown say she rereads that note often, that she keeps it tucked away, not in a place of pride, but in a drawer rarely opened, because to see those words is to remember what was asked of her and what she may have just betrayed. It wasn't a demand. It wasn't an order. It was the final wisdom of a monarch who understood better than anyone the danger of letting the crown come between blood. And now, as the winds shift around her, Beatrice must reckon not just with the titles her children have gained, but with the trust she may have lost. But the Queen's prophecy is already unfolding, and the consequences for Eugenie's children may echo far beyond the titles they never received. The titles Beatrice's children gained don't just offer recognition, they grant access, power, and a place in royal history. By denying Eugenie's sons the same, the palace may have altered the course of their lives forever, and now, whispers grow of plans to formally separate the family trees. The consequences are no longer theoretical. With the conferral of Lady upon Sienna Mozzi, Beatrice's daughter is now officially embedded within the framework of royal lineage, recognized, recorded, and elevated. Her name will appear in public orders of precedence, historical accounts, and ceremonial protocol. But as Sienna's title was celebrated in private receptions and royal updates, the absence of Ernest and August from the same recognition rang louder than any announcement. No honorary designation, no ceremonial mention. Their names appeared nowhere on the newly revised documents posted quietly on royal.gov, an update so discreet it might have gone unnoticed, if not for the silence surrounding it. But the omission was intentional. The divide was real, and in the cold light of protocol, it was permanent. Behind that technical erasure lies a far more human tragedy. Eugenie, once considered a possible future ambassador for a modern monarchy, has now been quietly removed from internal discussions regarding future regent appointments. The decision, reportedly supported by several senior advisors, marks not just a shift in titles, but a shift in trust. Her exclusion isn't just administrative, it's symbolic, a signal that the palace no longer sees her as a stable link in the evolving royal chain. The implications are massive. Without status, her sons stand on the fringes, biologically royal, yet structurally invisible. And for Eugenie, who once imagined her children walking confidently beside their cousins, the change feels like a door closing. Public reaction has not been kind. Among younger generations especially, there's a growing tide of resentment. The decision to honor one branch of sisters while bypassing the other has raised accusations of hypocrisy, favoritism, even punishment. Social media campaigns have called for transparency, while quiet polls show a dip in approval for the monarchy's handling of internal family matters. The mood is shifting, and the palace knows it. But it may be too late to undo what's already in motion. Sources now claim that Eugenie has begun considering a permanent relocation to Portugal, where she and her husband Jack have spent increasing amounts of time. What started as a temporary retreat now feels like a quiet exit. A step away from a monarchy that once embraced her, now cutting her out with surgical precision. Talks of a family branch split have begun surfacing. York's on one side, Windsor's on the other. It's not just symbolic. Some believe official documents may soon codify it, redefining who belongs to the active royal structure and who will be remembered as little more than a footnote. But just when it seems the door has closed on Eugenie's family, an unexpected figure steps forward with an ultimatum that could unravel the entire decision. In a shocking twist, Edward and Sophie, normally the most dutiful and diplomatic of royals, have reportedly issued a behind-the-scenes ultimatum: include Eugenie's children, or they begin stepping back from their own roles. With the monarchy already in crisis, could this force the palace into a reversal? For years, the Earl and Countess of Wessex have been seen as the monarchy's most dependable pair, quietly efficient, rarely controversial, and loyal to a fault. But beneath their calm exterior, a storm has been building. Eugenie, whom they've known since her birth, was not just another royal they watched her grow, held her hand through the turbulence of royal scandals, and stood beside her during times the family seemed to buckle under pressure. So when the titles were stripped from her sons while Beatrice's child was elevated, the Wessexes didn't just see a policy, they saw a betrayal. It was the kind of fracture that didn't just affect protocol, it cut through the trust that held the family together. Sources close to the couple confirm that both Lady Louise and James, Earl of Wessex, expressed private dismay over the divide. James, still young but astute, reportedly questioned why the family protects one niece's future and ignores the others. Louise, known for her quiet introspection, said little, but reportedly declined an invitation to a royal planning session, citing family tensions. These weren't acts of rebellion. They were signs of quiet revolt. And then came the moment that changed everything, a secret meeting between Edward, Sophie, and the Prince of Wales, which by all accounts did not go to plan. What was expected to be a cordial conversation became a tense exchange. William, who had worked hard to stay above the fray, was met with firm, emotional resistance from Edward. The message was clear. If the monarchy can rewrite the rules for some, it can do so for others. Sophie, typically composed, reportedly told aides after the meeting, "This isn't the family we pledged to serve. Not a threat. A truth. The kind that leaves echoes in the halls of power." And with the official Commonwealth Day appearance fast approaching, a high-profile event designed to showcase unity, the palace is facing an internal crisis it can no longer contain. Senior advisors are now split. Some urge King Charles to stand firm, to preserve the direction of a streamlined monarchy. Others warn that alienating Edward and Sophie could shatter the fragile stability that remains. For the first time in recent memory, the institution is bracing for visible fracture, because if Edward and Sophie follow through on their ultimatum, if they begin pulling back from roles, duties, and events, it won't just be a family falling apart. It will be the crown, cracking from the inside. The fallout is far from over. and as the crown redefines its own bloodline, one thing is certain: the war for legacy has only just begun. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.